Okay, hey everybody. Hope you're doing well. Don't forget to put your city and state in the chat. We're gonna begin in 2 minutes. We'll begin at 6:30. We want to
Sure.
say hello and welcome
Hey, how you
everybody. Give
doing?
people a chance
Good.
to
How are
come in.
you?
Good, good. It's like old times. I was playing Welcome Back Carter theme.
Oh my
Me in
goodness.
the background.
Yeah.
It's like went a whole 48 hours without talking to one another. It's like this is so unusual for us.
It is unusual. Yes, it is. It is. So everybody put your city and state in the chat. Say hello to us. We are starting to see people in YouTube as well. So yes, we are back for a special session about the business of NFTs. Want to say hello to everybody. We're officially going to get started at 6:30, which is in another minute. But we do want to say hello here to Denise, saying hello to myself and Talisha. And then somebody saying actually worked from home today, so able to catch a live. Hello. Congratulations. I think that's Latrice who said that. Denise is from Ohio, and we have Anderson here from Georgia. Everybody else, if you can, put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you. If you are on YouTube, please give us the official thumbs up. Please share the stream. We may also be sharing on Facebook as well. So, we are sharing on Facebook too. So want to say hello to everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, Percy.
We got Washington here. Percy is in the house. Hey, Memphis, Tennessee. Good evening. Well, let's get started. First of all, this is a very interesting time in the world of blockchain, in the world of Bitcoin, crypto, and NFTs. There's a lot of activity happening. And even though I will say we are not financial advisors, I would say you definitely want to be paying attention to what's happening in crypto. There's a lot of institutional money started. Gosh, Talisha, what, about a year and a half ago where that institutional money really started coming in? I think it's been about a year and a half now.
Exactly. Today, actually.
I'm sorry?
Dropped down 17 months from today. This is when it started to crest upwards. So we're right in the thick of it.
Yeah, and now we're seeing, Kathy Wood and Elon Musk and these big names starting to talk. We're starting to see BlackRock and institutional money like that double down and triple down into crypto. Well, they mostly say Bitcoin. We don't know what other coins they're getting into or what other crypto they're getting into. But no matter what, you definitely want to pay attention. Pay attention. Do your own research. I have to say that as well. But on a personal note, I thought a couple of days ago, darn, I remember the days when Bitcoin was $3,700. And that was like, what, a little over a year ago? I'm like, I should have bought more at the time. So, hello, Sean.
It was like $500. Like
I'm sorry?
I vividly recall those days.
I do. Well, you recall the days when it was probably like $1,000 a coin or even lower than that.
It was 2016. It was like barely, 375, 500. Then it was going up. 2016, it went to 1,200. And it was like, ooh, it's 1,200. It was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, it's going to go up and it's going to go down. And, one of the big things is if you choose this as an asset category for you, to not get queasy during the downturns. Just stick with it. If it did, like, do your own research, CYA, check with your attorney, check with your accountant, all of that good stuff. We are not financial advisors, blah, 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 blah. So with that, Eric, hello.
Good. Hey, Sheree. How you doing?
I'm okay. So we are speaking officially to the tokenization maximalist, or the Titan of tokenization. We're
there
still,
you go.
Each and I are still sticking with that name.
Yeah, definitely.
But I wanted to have this conversation with the two of you today because of Tribe Called Quest. And when I saw the article that they have put their royalties on NFTs, or made their royalties available on NFTs and people are able to purchase it, I was like, okay, now we're starting to see a lot of hip hop artists, old school and newer hip hop artists, do things with NFTs. And usually in the Black community, we are left behind. However, it seems like the Black youth may catch up earlier than maybe some of the other demographics because of these things. So I'm always a fan of talking about the business side of these things so that we're not just consumers, but we're also able to invest and even potentially be able to create platforms that people can use in order to create these things. So I gave you all a few questions that we would start with, but before we do that, just in case anyone is not familiar with the two of you, Eric, I'd love for you, to just introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are.
Yes, hi everybody. Eric Spence. I am BBC Inner Circle member. Been a part of this fabulous group for the past, I'm losing track of time. What is it, 5 years? I guess something like that, right? Okay, 4 years. Okay, there you go. Also, I am also, as Ashri mentioned, tokenization maximalist. I've been beating this drum for the past, since that time, since the inception of our group, of believing that this application of blockchain will be transformative, and we are beginning to see that now. Also, I will tell you that I'm a music publisher, so these sort of things, for me, there's a lot of convergence that happens, and it's happening right now in the space, especially as a music publisher, copyright owner, and just really excited to see the possibilities and where I know we're going to go, where we're headed to. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So Talisha, tell everyone who you are.
Hello, everybody. I'm Talisha Shine. I'm one of the co-founding members of BBC and also a GBA certified blockchain consultant. I am the tech person on the team. So I talk about it all from those perspectives, but also it is very important that we do kind of look at the business, because the business drives what we're doing here. Tech is a very supplemental aspect to it. We don't want to do tech for tech's sake. So when we merge and have these kind of conversations, we are really looking at the new business models, and they are just that. They are new business models that really will purport what we're doing in this space right now. And NFTs is a great application. I know a lot of people are stuck on the sexy, as I call it. And that's great, because that would get people happy and involved, but it's really going to be the ancillary kind of application that really will just be ubiquitous and do so much more without you thinking of it. I always say it's like Wi-Fi. You don't really care about how it works. You just want the password. And that's exactly what these kind of applications will afford you in the future.
Absolutely. So let's start off with the fact that NFT stands for non-fungible token. How do you define it in a layman's term? Somebody who doesn't know anything about crypto, anything about blockchain, but they're trying to figure out what in the world this is. Either one of you can answer that.
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, no, because I'm going to tell you, and I said it in the most condensed, easiest possible way, and then from there people can go and they can extrapolate it further. And I go, listen, we are putting an ownership layer on the internet itself, and that's it. I like it is going to begin in there, where you will be able to own your digital items yourself without any third party intermediary, whether that be, i.e., Facebook or Instagram or anyone else. Them owning it. You yourself as an individual will be able to own it. We'll be able to track your ownership, the provenance of that, all the way back to you. So that's where I begin to.
It's a great one. And I would say it's just, again, we talk about money because most people want to talk about it from a currency perspective. Dollars are, number one, interchangeable. $1 is the same as any other dollar. And it's also divisible, meaning you can give me 4 quarters, you can give me 10 dimes. That's what fungible means. It just means we can exchange it freely for one another. Whereas in this space, there is going to be a unique characteristic, and it is not fungible, meaning that it is going to be one of one. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be rare. It just means that it's unique. And that's the thing that we have to look for, because a lot of people keep going into the space like, well, if I create art, is it the only one? No, it's not the only one. It just means that that thing points to you and you exclusively, so that wherever it goes, you are known for that it is yours. And that's where that ownership that Eric is talking about, it travels with you now. It is no longer that piece of paper or that little thing. It's truly embedded into the item itself.
Right. So then let's talk about use cases, because a lot of times people are able to grab, you know, better understand something when we start talking about use cases. So we have seen art, for example, being tokenized and being created into NFTs. But what use cases do you see now, and what use cases do you see in the future for NFTs?
Again, I'm going to tell you all about the non-sexy stuff. So this is where, and I love the fact, like I said, this is not a dig or, anything against the collectibles and the art and the music. That's exactly what we need to push it forward. But those are really surrounded by provenance and scarcity. That's what drives those. But now as lay consumers, you just want to be able to participate in this environment. And so really it's about customization and uniqueness. So when we're looking at a client or customer experience, it's about you, your data. You are you. You're always going to be you. How you shop, how you, browse the internet, all of that now makes this a compensatory consumer environment instead of just being a consumer on the internet. Now there's a way to say, hey, if I'm participating, you're going to have to give me something for my attention. And those are the use cases that we'll see over and over, from your browser history to real estate to anything that we can now bundle and say, if I give you my information for a very specific amount of time, this is also another part of it. Most people think about it's just ownership, but it is also a programmable kind of agreement that I'm making with you. I want to give you my information. Say I'm planning a wedding in a year. I want to know everybody's locations and flowers and all that kind of good stuff, but I only want it for a year, because once my wedding's done, I'm done. Mm-hmm. I can now exchange that information with somebody and say, okay, I'm bundling this information about me to give to you as a marketer. You can bombard me with whatever you want for this amount of time, and this is what I want to be compensated with. Those are those kinds of use cases that we'll see. I'm working right now with 2 health tech startups for that purpose as well, for health record information. That too is something that really can go a long way, but it's something that you want your health records with you at all points in time, but not always to have them in perpetuity. You just want to be able to have your provider know who and what they need to know at that time, and then give you the treatment and then give it back to you. And mm-hmm. Those are kind of those, I always say, those underlying kind of use cases that we're going to see over and over and over again. Video games are obviously a hot item, and they kind of sit in between the fancy kind of art and entertainment. But again, now those environments are going to create different ecosystems that are going to come into your real life very soon. So you're going to see video games take on a whole new persona. And that also is the NFTs are going to explode in that area, because it gives you that power to do things that you couldn't do. And again, once you're in the video game, people really kind of come out of the game, and they're going to be able to do things that, again, were not afforded to them just how we are right now.
Eric, what kind of use cases do you see?
Okay, now this is what's interesting for me. Before, and I know everyone doesn't share this opinion, but it's just fine. It's mine. But I never separated crypto from blockchain. To me, they are one and the same, and that's always been the purpose for me. If there's no token, I don't care. I'm not interested. And for me, I will say this, even with NFTs, I don't look at NFTs as just a singular component. They are, however, NFTs are maximized when we talk about use case. They are maximized when we begin to then allow and to bring in all of the other ways, such as DeFi, decentralized finance, and we begin to use then DAOs, and then we begin to use social money. To me, it's all of these things combined together with NFTs that are going to bring about the real maximum changes that to me are just going to be mind-blowing for us. So right now, I think a lot of people probably when they're looking at NFTs, they're only seeing them as just maybe like these sort of high end, well, I wouldn't necessarily high end, but very high price digital collectibles and that sort of thing. And they're kind of going, yeah, I don't really care. But it's going to be completely different when we start seeing NFTs become the foundational financial proponents for communities themselves. And that's what I'm most interested to see. And that's what I believe we're trending towards. So for me, I look at NFTs as a ways for us always to be able to capture this digital value that we're constantly churning out every single day that we are using the internet. So
yeah. So then let's go through an example. Let's take our, I don't know, give me a musical artist, somebody in the chat. Who's your favorite musician out there? I just want to tie a name to it. Hopefully a name I recognize. Anybody on YouTube? Anyone in the Zoom chat? Usher. Okay, let's take Usher. All right. So Usher decides that he wants to, let's say he owns his catalog, just so we can keep it super simple. And he wants to, since Eric is in music publishing, he wants to put his music publishing on, set it up so that the community can purchase those NFTs and get royalties from it. Can you walk us a little bit through, from a business aspect, the process of Usher actually doing that? Like, is there a specific website that he goes to? Is there a specific organization that he goes to and says, hey, I want to do this. Can you set this up for me? Give us a little bit of the nitty gritty with regards to how these things are set up.
Okay. First thing Usher's going to need to do is get a whole team of lawyers. That's going to be 100%. I mean, a lot of lawyers too. Especially if he's going to go and he's going to tokenize his catalog, because in one of those he's probably going to need he's going to need to get an SEC attorney too, and because he's going to need to be very careful that this isn't issued as a security. Now, will we see this? Absolutely. We're going to see this more and more. Now, once again,
people who are lobbying the SEC to get that changed. So that's what Eric is referring to.
Yes, without question. And listen, I'm just going to say this as a music publisher. I'm not going to bore everyone with some of the kind of dirty details, but you have multiple owners of these copyrights and that sort of thing, and they're kind of like all entangled together. So I'm saying
a la Jay-Z and Dame Dash.
Yeah, exactly. So yes. So he's going to need the attorneys to make sure everything is free and clear so that he can go, and move forward to do that. Now, here, once again, there are a plethora of platforms right now. They're out. And I will say this too, when it comes down to actually issuing NFTs, the UX is actually getting very good on a lot of these. Now, like
tell me what UX means, just in case they don't know.
The user experience for people on the end, like the end user, how you're using these things. Can it be very easy? I mean, I'm telling you flat out, if you can go and you can launch your own YouTube channel, that's probably like way more technically advanced than what it's going to take for you to issue an NFT. I'm just being honest when you start looking at where we are with this. But I look at that and I see that, and that will absolutely be something where someone will go, and let's just take an artist and they go and they actually tokenize a song as an NFT, and they go and they do that, and then they provide that. Now, first of all, they could do this in a point where that song becomes in fractional shares, where you have a bunch of people then are able to go in and to purchase it and say that song represents 10,000 different individual tokens, and people are able to go in. Some person completely loves the song and they want to buy 8,000 or 9,000 or whatever. There's no restriction. They could be able to do that. Where I will say this, Sheree, where I believe we are headed to this. This is really it. So you're going to hear this first. I believe we are getting to a point where we are going to see, it will be the Usher DAO. It will be the Usher. It will be the Usher decentralized autonomous organization And it would be this, okay, now this would be where people, if you are a super fan out there and you absolutely, Usher's your biggest, I mean, you absolutely love him, you got pictures of him all up on the wall, you're talking about, it will be you then going in, you know, and however you are now, however the mechanism is decided for you to become a member of the DAO. Sometimes it's you know, you purchase a certain amount of tokens, so you have to purchase 5,000 Usher tokens that are only worth, you know, less than a cent each or whatever, and you become a member of that DAO. But what I'm looking at then is you being able to, all of the things you would normally do, whether that's out and how many times you tweet about Usher, how many times you post about him on your Instagram, how many times you go out and, you know what, let's just say you want to go and you want to talk about him on your Facebook page and tell people, oh my gosh, Usher's coming into, you know, perform or whatever. We should all go and set that up. You will be able to actually do that and be rewarded monetarily for you giving that value to him, to that organization, to that DAO. I absolutely believe that this is where we are headed. And I believe that we're going to look at artists, and it will be probably an artist who's internet native, meaning that they are, you know, not probably the legacy artist who's been out for some while, but probably some younger kid or whatever who's coming up now, seeing this and goes, you know what? He or she pushes away all of the other people like myself, like the music publishers or the record label people. Y'all stand back. I'm going to do this from a crypto native way. I'm going to start this first as a DAO. And then I will do this, and then my community will now own my songs, will then benefit from the financial upside of my songs and of my career. And then what will happen is, see, we will have jobs that don't have any bosses, where someone is able to just do the things that they would normally do, serve the DAO in that sort of way, and they will be able to benefit from it and benefit in the financial upside. I actually, and NFTs will be a primary component of that going forward. But in a long story short, that's where I believe we are headed long term.
I'm going to go with the other side. So while the DAO is established, these are the other use cases. So simply, maybe you're just a lay fan of Mr. Usher. So you just want to see him in concert, but you like him enough that that ticket means something to you. You get the ticket. This is, again, where the programmability comes in. Maybe you bought the ticket and you're the first 100 persons that bought the ticket. Now that ticket can tell you that Usher has invited you to a personal screening of something. And you go to that personal screening, you take a photo of him. Now that photo and you and Usher now can be digitized and forever there. So now when you put it on the internet, you get paid for that. That's something that's going on. And again, anytime anybody circles that, you know, that picture, it comes back to you because it's in an NFT format. So you know, it's like, this is my picture. This is not just some random picture that was taken and digitized and moved on. Now it's yours. But that's the programmability, where again, it keeps you in contact. This is not a singular e-commerce transaction. NFTs allows you to have multiplicity of interactions throughout the life cycle of the NFT. And that's something that we forget. A lot of people just think of it as, again, a singular e-commerce transaction. I bought something, it's digital, and I move on. It now has the power to communicate to you going on. So again, we've lost the album covers. We were having this conversation, and people used to love that art. That art was really important. And everybody wants the words to the songs, because now people make up their own lyrics and remix it in their own way. But now you can have that. If you want to go back to that nostalgia, but you have it in a digital format, you can now have an art. Maybe you created some art for Usher and he uses it in that certain way. Again, anytime he uses that, this is where it goes and it says, hey, I've used this piece of art that you've created. If it's on a shirt, if it's on my sneakers, if it's on a billboard, he wore it to the Emmys or the Grammys, all of that. Those are those kind of things that track that kind of, that item. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that fluidity throughout everywhere, because again, it's going to have eyes on it, but you just want to have the compensatory aspect to it, or even just to have the ability to talk back to the individual. So now it's a conversation rather than a monologue through this type of, this digital exchange.
So Dorian is asking in YouTube, is the term tokenization of assets the same as NFT?
I would Yeah.
Let's say, well, tokenizing something, you can tokenize it and make it into a digital an asset, whereas the token, the NFT is itself a token. That's why it's called a non-fungible token. It is the absolute code that houses all of the data. So it is the token. And if you say you want to tokenize the asset is your information, any data, the art, all of that. So that's how
it could be real estate. It could be it could be a hard asset or a digital asset.
It could be anything. It can be intellectual property. It can be, I know we have the sneaker crowd here. It could be the design on the sneaker, not just the sneaker. That's a really big one that we've had that conversation with. Like maybe it's the tread, maybe it's something that you have used, the material. All of that information can now be housed in that particular token to tell you how everything portion of it is made. So even if it's a stitch that you don't get to see, the NFT knows where that stitch is and what it is and why it's there and can tell you.
So then when we buy crypto, for example, we know that the value goes up and down. We can check, online and see the value of Bitcoin, for example, today, or Ethereum, et cetera. How are we going to be able to know the value of the token itself and if it's going to increase or decrease? Is there going to be a centralized hub that says the Usher DAO token is worth X today? And then what's the marketplace going to be like if I want to sell some of that tokenized asset? Like, walk us through what that's going to look like, what it is today and what it's going to look like.
See, now that, that is why when I mentioned earlier, when I talked about DeFi, because now we begin to bring in DEXs. And DEXs, if anyone's not familiar, talking about decentralized exchanges, Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, whatever swap, you know what I mean? We see this. Yeah. Where these are not centralized. These are not centralized DEXs. I mean, not centralized exchanges like a Coinbase where you have to go in and submit all your verification of all your documents to make sure you are the person on the other side who's transacting. These aren't that. You go and you connect your wallet, and then you can go and you can do your transaction. Now, here will be the issue. If Eric launched his Eric coin, and I said, hey man, I go, and now we have a lot of protocols that are, I mean, it's lickety split. Anybody can go spin up a coin at any point in time, and I set the value then as I go spin it up. Now, as we go and we do that, and then I say, okay, listen, especially if I'm doing this on, doing this on Ethereum, where I can go to a Uniswap or a SushiSwap, which trades 24/7 and is never shut down. Okay, well, listen, I go in and I supply liquidity into it. So let's say I go and I supply, $100,000 worth of liquidity into it, and then you are then able to go in and trade against that at any point in time. So if you have your token, and after I've airdropped it to everyone else, and they say, hey, you know what, Eric, I like you, but I'm kind of tired of you a little bit. I'm ready to go, and I need to go buy something. So these airdrop tokens you had, I'm gonna go trade them. I'm gonna sell them out. I can go do that, and then I can go and trade them out for whatever else I want to go trade them out for, whether it's Ethereum or even only ERC20 based tokens there, but I can go do that. So that is one of the components where now we have this now where I just believe, once again, NFTs with DeFi, DAOs, and, to me, one of the big bosses at the end is going to be social money, where those are like, it's going to give us possibilities that we never had before. And yeah.
Okay.
I think there's also a piece of that. Like I said, there's going to be OpenSea. We'll talk about OpenSea for the moment because they just, through their Series B, just raised $100 million. So that brings their valuation to 1.5 billion. And they're doing it. They're the unicorn right now of the OpenSea as they want to be, and that's great. But there are also going to be other auxiliary exchanges, and I think this is where the DEXs, the DeFi, and all those, the protocol will then be that you can either exchange the NFT for crypto, for absolute money, social money, or you can swap it for something else. So like I said, maybe I have something that's unique I have the usher sign thing, and I really want a new car. And somebody says, you know what? I really want that hat that usher sign. I'll give you my car if you give me the hat. There are going to be exchanges that allow you to do that. That's the thing.
Just direct exchanges like
Right.
that. That's what I was trying to determine. Yeah.
Right. And they will be there. That's going to take some, again, there's going to be some
It's going to take time.
in there, but that's truly because, again, you can, where we always want to think of compensatory in currency, and now we're going back to a barter system, and we're bringing that back in a new way. We can barter now. I have something you want. It doesn't have to be a monetary thing where it's like, yep, I need one and you need this and I need in USD. It could just be whatever it is. And if we agree, we're making that peer-to-peer exchange, and that's what it's going to be.
Great. So one of the things that Eric mentioned is this term job without bosses. And I love that because I've been listening, Eric, to your friend Pomp a lot, Anthony Pompliano. He has his new daily show on now. And of course, I've known that this has been the trend as well, that we are trending from people, not only Americans, but worldwide, going from being employees to being freelancers. And there is a huge shift of labor that is going to happen where, you may sell your labor for an hour or for a day or for a specific project and things like that. And there's going to be a lot more freelancers in the world than there are actual employees. So everything, the pendulum is swinging in every aspect. That's going to be my point for this evening, in every aspect. And I think for those of us who have children, we really need to prepare our kids, grandkids, great-grandkids for a world that we do not recognize. Because it's going to be a world that we don't recognize in the next 20 to 25 years. And the best thing that we can do is help them be able to strategize and prepare for that world. So I just wanted to really put that pin in there with regards to the decentralized everything is really going to be happening, even though we have a lot of people that are going to be fighting that as well. So my next question for both of you is in regards to Black representation within the industry, because as you know, within Black Blockchain Consultants and the 10K Project, I'm very much about us owning a piece of the pie and not just being consumers. So outside of celebrities, are there any up and coming people, Black people that are doing big things within the NFT industry?
Yeah. I mean, I think we can go from, corporations, companies, like I said, I'm working with two of them right now in the healthcare industry, but I think on a daily basis, and this is where we need to shift our brains to think of ourselves, again, what we're doing and how we're participating. I always say we are a business. We really need to think of ourselves like that. And now that we've moved from Web 0.10 to 3.0, we are in a different position. And this is where the data analytics becomes a really hot commodity. Everything is built on data right now. There's nothing you can do without data, and it's yours. This is where you need the ownership and understanding of what you're giving when you check the box to every time that you're using your mobile phone. These are really important aspects, and this is how we participate immediately. If you're going to be a consumer, at least be compensated for your consumerism. And this is where that comes into play. We really need to be looking for mechanisms, browsers, using those mobile applications that really do purport that. So then again, it's not something that you're going to have to learn new tech, because you're not. You're using that same product, but now you just need to use a different browser. Maybe you need to download a new app. But that's what you're needing to understand, is that you need to stop giving away your data for free. You are not free. Nothing is free at this point. And now you have to go into everything with what's in it for me. And from that standpoint, this is where the participation is, even if it's tokens, if you're not even sure what it is, you need to just ask, like, what am I getting for this? What is the exchange? And that's how we really kind of go through this whole process of picking, providers for ourselves. Maybe this is where you say, well, I want to use this service provider, but this one gives me tokenization aspects or gives me the rights. That may be the deciding factor of who you go. So now you need to be much more astute of where and how you are, you know, using that consumer dollar of yours, even if it's a digital dollar.
Eric, same
You
question,
know,
Black representation in the industry.
okay, I'm going to approach this a little bit different, you know, as I normally do. This is how I'm going to believe it. It's everybody. It's all of us. It's you too. It's everybody on. It's everyone who's tuned in to watch this. Everyone's going to watch this. You are the leaders leading this. This is a grassroots. This is a grassroots movement starting from the ground up. And listen, let me just say this. Nobody, and I mean nobody, no people group moves culture like Black people.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Nobody has their pulse. No one can move it and shift it into one direction like Black people can. And this gives us the opportunity for sure to begin to really capture that value that, this to be honest, for the overwhelming majority of it, we have given this away for free. And all of the other Web 2.0 platforms have taken it all. Like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna go on a rant here. But listen, I watch a whole lot of stuff go on, and I see a whole lot of people who have built up whatever you want to say, personas and stuff like that. And I'm going to look at it. I actually know where the origins and the root of where that came from. And the person who did that got no value from it. And listen, we've even talked about, I think even last year, we talked about Clubhouse on this very, you know, right amongst us. And like, we're going, wait a minute. And at least you even said this was a fledgling platform. I mean, there was about, they almost ready to shutter their doors. And here we go. What happens? Black people go, they migrate, they have their conversations, same conversations we would have in the barbershop, same conversation we have in the beauty salon, same conversation we have in the cookout around our dinner table or whatever. And everyone says, oh my gosh, what's going on there? Oh, let me go over there. And everyone else starts doing it. And next thing you know, before you go, we're looking at, oh my gosh, this company's valued at $1 billion. Well, isn't that amazing? You know, and I look at this and I say, okay, well, listen, we have to, and Talisha is right, we have to start looking at things that give us the ownership, and then we begin to drive into force those things into it. I'm telling you now, we are going to get to a point, especially as we look at some of the things, some of the creative ways in which we create memes, just out of nowhere, and they're hysterical. And people can look at that. I don't care. You can write a Harvard paper. It doesn't mean anything when it comes down to this person creating this meme that everybody galvanizes around, and they immediately get it, and it has that kind of impact for them. And I have seen us as a community do that, just easily do that. And they can be a person, you know, whatever. That's just their own thoughts, their own creativity. We are going to see that now become truly monetizable assets that we will then be able to own, and then we'll be able to again, you know, take and utilize in a myriad of the other ways, kind of some of the ways that I talked about, you know, before when it comes down to DeFi and DAOs and that sort of thing. But that's one of the major areas that I'm looking at for us. And I'm just going to say this too, especially. All of these brands, they're all going to end up using NFTs, and they're all going to need people to help walk them through when it comes down to what is the best business strategy for them so that they can actually truly build community and get connection and that sort of thing. And to me, I think this is just something like we just naturally move this way. We just understand this very instinctually. And those are skills that I think that we're going to really leverage in Web 3.0. And I think we're going to dominate because of that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm always concerned because we have this conversation continuously when new technology comes out, where, you know, the new tech comes out, we're always so far behind. And then we start using it and it becomes popular and people have billion-dollar valuations, and you look at the cap table and we're not represented. I think about the TikTok dancers. So for those of you who don't know, there were some Black TikTok dancers that went on strike. I'm not on TikTok, I'm not downloading it, you know, blah, blah, blah. However, I keep up with what's, you know, some of the trending things that's happening. And what was happening with the Black TikTok dancers is every time there's a new song or something like that, they create their own dances, and then the counterparts to these Black TikTok dancers would mimic the dances, and then they would end up on Jimmy Fallon and monetizing and getting publicity and sometimes getting paid where the Black TikTok dancers were not. My biggest concern is, are we going to those young ladies on TikTok and saying, look, let's, figure out how you can monetize this, not through TikTok, but through NFTs. Trent is saying happens all the time. Like, that's where I'm asking where the Black representation is. Are we hanging up our shingles not to just help Black businesses get into NFTs, but also our counterpart businesses as well? Who's going to have the 8-figure, I can help you set up your NFTs and build a community business? Because somebody's going to do it. Why not us? Y'all know I've been banging the hammer for the 3.5 years we've been as part of BBC. Shout out to anybody who's new. But I really feel like we need to have more representation. When the NFT conference or virtual conference comes on, are we represented? Or do I get a call from Forbes saying, I didn't know there were Black people in blockchain? This is also what I'm asking about the representation as well. And I understand, Eric, what you're saying. It has to come from the ground up in the bottom, but I also want to make sure that the top recognizes that we're in this arena as well, and not just using our celebrities and running off with the money like they always do.
I think this is where we leverage the community that we have started, which is the internet. At this point, these are the Black Twitters, the Black LinkedIn, all of those. And that's where we rally around this and we see these kinds of things. And the news does kind of churn out, this is what's going on. That's where the connectivity is. If we see this happening, we have to galvanize those kind of resources. And it is most of the time, it is going to take somebody to say, hey, do you know you can do that? And then show them. And that's something that I think where there's a disconnect. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things in one area, but aren't willing to share and proliferate that information. So that's one of our downsides. We're really good at doing it, but we always feel that everybody else has to struggle because we struggle, and therefore we don't share the information. So that becomes our own kind of shoot us in our own foot kind of thing. We do have to be like, this is what we do. And sometimes it does have to be for free. We've given this information countless, almost 4 years of free information. This is how we have to really get this information out and help people along the way. It's not like you're going to be like, I'm a business right now, you need to give me 6 figures so that I can set you up. That's not how we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to kind of carry along and help people do whatever. And that's where we have different resources to do that. And I think this is a Gen X kind of thing, I know, because we deal so much with digital natives as well as the baby boomers. We are the fulcrum. And I say that's where we truly need to be able, we can see a different perspective much more. And we hear all the time what the gripes are because they gripe to us. So, the Gen Zers talk about how they just hate everything that we do. The baby boomers tell us that they can't do anything because they want to talk to a person. Those are business ideas. Every gripe is a business problem. You're listening to problems all day long. That's what you're trying to solve. So as those individuals who, have that grace of being in our, the X's, we are the X-File generation. We are going to have to solve those problems by communicating effectively and pulling resources back and forth. So at this point, we're going to have to reach over and say, hey, Gen Z, teach your grandma how to do something because she's getting on my nerves. And we're going to have to pull them along because this is where we need everybody's participation, but it actually has to be, it can't just be all or nothing. And I think that's what we're looking for right now, is it to be just, oh, okay. The internet took years to develop. Most of you wouldn't probably even remember or even know what it looked like. And it was a poor representation, if you know, from the very early time to what it is now. And just knowing that we have to move through that, but we also have to carry individuals with us to be able to do that. And we all have our own levels of expertise. There are people in this chat right now that know a whole lot about a whole lot. Now you just need to pair that with somebody who can help you with the technology or pair you with the business. Those are what we have to do as a community. We do have to now be the business entity. Everybody can't be the CEO and everybody isn't the secretary. You have a whole organization. We need to be able to do that as well here.
Yeah. Eric, what do you have to say about my rant?
No, you're 100% right. Now, I will say, I believe Async Art, if you look at that programmable NFT platform, Michael Johnson, Black man, is one of the founders of that. I think that for Foundation, I believe one of their founders is also Black. So there are, I believe that. It could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So you're absolutely right, though, Sheree, about the fact of, going in, but I can't help but put on my decentralized hat and to say, as Talisha was talking about, it becomes of each individual kind of going in and becoming almost an ambassador of sort. And yes, going in and just telling someone. I told some young Black kids in my church, and they didn't listen to me. I don't know why, because I was an old man. I told them last year. I said, hey, this is NFT thing. I know y'all do digital art. Trust me, I told them last spring. You need to look into this. And I know they're kind of like, yeah, Mr. Eric, yeah. I'm like,
Yes, Mr. Eric.
yeah, I'm like, no, God, like, look, listen. I told you, but there is a point in there, and I saw him a few Sundays ago. Yeah, I remember when you mentioned that. Like, yes.
Yeah, but it's still not too late. It's still not too late.
Absolutely not. No, like, we're just getting
for
started.
us to get
Like,
involved,
I mean,
and that's a really great thing too. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But to me, Sheree, I will just say this, and Talisha's kind of to your point too. Everything, some of the biggest things do happen over word of mouth, and it does happen that way. And it is a lot of times, first, like Talisha said, you just giving it away for free. You're giving some intel away to someone for free, and then they picking it up and decided then to go do it and to move on to it.
And YouTube, again, if y'all can just share the stream and also give us a like and a subscribe, we'd appreciate that. We've got people watching in YouTube. Want to thank you for that. Okay, so final question that I have for you is the future of the industry, and we kind of talked about it before, but any thoughts with regards to some of the future projects or things that we should be looking out for? And also I'll ask a probably a better question as well, is action items that people can take. So people that they should be following that really kind of get into the nitty gritty of NFTs and tokenization, Twitter accounts, websites, things like that, demos that people should do, etc. So I'll throw all of that together. Eric?
Okay, first for me, in case anyone doesn't know, like, I'm a big fan of the Bankless podcast. I think those guys are fantastic. I would tell you to go check out the creator economy episode of the Bankless podcast. Go check that one out. I think that one was excellent. Also, Jesse Walden's The Ownership Economy Thesis. That's important. I believe, and you can go find that on the internet too. Li Jin's work that she wrote on building the creative middle class, which to me, I think that's a big part of this that we need to get understood, because a lot of times I think so far with NFTs, people have been looking at a lot of people making, we see like the Beeple NFT that goes for $69 million or whatever, and that sort of thing. But it's important for us, and this, I've been talking about this for a long time. It's always about things being scaled down so the everyday average user can always go and utilize those. So those are some things I would definitely tell you to go check out. Oh yeah, and by the way, like Rich, I just saw he just posted someone, Israel Wilson. Israel Wilson is killing it in the NFT space. He's a big part of the platform Curio, which we see them doing NFTs for TV shows like American Gods. And also too, I will tell you that I bought Israel's first ever NFT with Malcolm X that he ever minted, and I couldn't be prouder of just the work that he's doing. So
thanks, Richard, for that information as well. So Talisha, final question for you as well.
I would say, again, you can join us in our Discord, the Black Blockchain Consultants Discord. I curate a whole large portion of information with regard to that topic alone, just to tokenization as well as NFTs. So if you have something that you want to just kind of start somewhere, that's the greatest place to start, because I put a lot of information in there. And if you have follow-up questions, I'm always there to kind of give you through that. But I think, again, the one thing that we can do, if you want to talk about action items, is really start to evaluate where you're spending your time. What are you doing and where, and what resources? So this is where you're not just going to click idly anymore. Think about where you're going, using different browsers. I know we've talked about Brave a gazillion times. And those are those kinds of things where, you know, you're just using things out of habit. Now you have to consciously tell yourself, like, is there something else? Is there somewhere I can get compensated, or something else I should be using? That's where we really start to change the behavior, because all you got to do is just say, hey, I need to maybe download this or go here. And I think at those, asking those kind of questions, like I said, I'm definitely on the non-sexy side. So I'm looking at those really ancillary projects that are just like, yeah, you know, your health records, nobody cares. Nobody cares about all that stuff. But until you go to the doctor and you want that information. So we'll see those kind of coming hot and heavy. Again, it's hard to do those projects with regard, because they're kind of just in the background. But when they do come up for, you know, for funding purposes, those are those kind of things that you can invest in. I know we've had on the 10K project, we've had Correlate Health, who's one of the companies that I'm working for. They're looking for funding at this point. So that's the kind of thing where you can get involved, even if you're not even sure what it is. You can go there and really put your money to work for you and for our community, because this is what it's all about, where we're going to help each other kind of do those things. So I just say, be curious. And if reach out, you know, we're here. We still do the same work that we do. And that's really what you can do. You're not going to, you know, if you're not a programmer, don't worry. You're not asked to program. You're never going to be, but you can be a much more astute consumer. And that's really where you can do the most benefit, is by voicing your opinion and always saying, you know, what's in this for me? Because then they have to respond, because that's what marketing and businesses are all about, because you're the customer.
Absolutely. And I will say two final things, suggestions is, you know, somebody's going to make money from this. Why not you? You know, that's the first thing. And then there are two ways that you can go about making money. Number one is to hang your shingle as a consultant and either help people set up their NFTs or help people understand what NFTs are. You could, you know, set up a YouTube channel or a Clubhouse or something like that, and just start interviewing people who are doing NFTs or who are part of the business, being kind of like a reporter. You know, if you don't have to know everything. You can just bring people on who know stuff, and you've got two great guests to start with here. So, you know, and then you'll be able to find others as well. The second is, I'm a really big fan of this, is to be the toll. Okay. If you think about PayPal, for example, every time you send money by PayPal, PayPal gets a piece of the money that you are sending to, well, usually not family and friends, but usually to businesses. Anytime I buy something on Coinbase, they charge me a little fee. That is what's called being the toll. There are these NFT platforms that are the tolls. So you can also be the toll booth. You can also potentially set up some sort of a platform where people can work with you in order to set up their NFTs, and every time, you know, transactions are done, you know, you could get a piece of it. I've always been a fan of that model. So I just wanted to leave that with you. Joy is asking, how can I educate myself to have a career in blockchain? This is in YouTube. Joy, you're in the right place. Come to blackblockchainconsultants.com, join our Discord group. We also have our beginners class in blockchain. So you can, again, come to blackblockchainconsultants.com and ask about it in the Discord group, and we'll give you the link to that. And you can get a certificate for Blockchain 101. And, you know, other than that, we gave you some resources with regards to educating yourself in NFTs, and you're on our YouTube page. So go through. We've got 3 years, 3+ years of blockchain chat and all sorts of videos on here. So that's a great way to educate yourself as well, Joy. So thanks for the question. I want to thank Talisha and Eric. Every time I ask them, hey, you guys want to come on and talk about this? They're always willing to do it. And I hope everyone agrees that tonight was educational. And hopefully you got a couple of pieces of information that you are able to take with you, apply, and make money, because this is all about the business of blockchain. So again, blackblockchainconsultants.com if you want to join our Discord group. Talisha, Eric, do you have any final comments?
And if someone wants any kind of specific questions, you can feel free to connect with me there. I also do some personal consulting. So if you're looking for something a little more robust, I'm available for that as well. So we can just kind of keep the conversation going and point you in the right direction. Or if you need me a little more hand holding, I'm available for that as well.
Fantastic. So everybody, I hope you have a great evening, and we'll do another pop-up session sometime in the future for BBC. So take care, everybody. Good night.